my God,
Cool.
we are back with More Than Metal,
Let's
the
go.
show where I, one John Baltina, talk to one, what's your name again?
Bill Crow. Caw.
Caw Caw.
How was it funny?
It's okay. I like that both your names are like, both your first and your last name are kind of forms of like different types of like bars or implements or tools. I think that's kind of cool, you
I
know?
suppose I always thought as the bird.
No, like a crowbar,
No, I
or
guess
like
so.
a billy you
A
use to like
bill, a
bring it up
hook.
to, yeah, a hook, to tear
Yeah.
down a building or a weapon or something like that. So, I think it's kind of neat.
I'm
It's,
honored.
well, I mean, maybe your parents just thought you'd be useful.
Fuck off.
Well, no, I mean, it's nice, they just keep them around. I could have said they thought you were a tool, but that would have been really bad.
Oh, well, you're just being mean to me. Can we just
All
end
the
the episode
BB
right here? No.
episode right here. Oh, that's good. No, I wish my name is John. It's something you go to the potty in. Um,
No, I didn't think about that. We're in a similar boat, I suppose.
yeah, we're just things you have around the house.
Yeah.
Um, but today, we're doing our first take on a bit that we came up with. I'm calling them bits because I literally have a list of things as bits to do with Bill.
It's just stuff.
This
Just
stuff,
things.
nonsense. Some of it's nonsense, but not all of it's nonsense. So that's why I didn't write it as nonsense. But we're doing our first time of what we call the swap. Now, Bill, how would you explain the swap to the people at home?
So the swap is essentially just John and I being like, hey, you want to listen to this album? Hey, you want to listen to this album? And we just give each other an album to listen to from start to finish, and then uh, get on the show and talk about it. What we think about it? How it rang to us, and how it yeah
How we vibe with it, stuff like
yeah
that. Yeah, it's because there's stuff I'm always interested in hearing new stuff or something different, and even stuff that challenges me.
yeah it challenges you.
And today's the episode where we find out that Bill's kind of a sadist. Um, but I will be speaking about the sleep token, even in Arcadia, that Bill asked me to listen to.
Yes.
And then, Bill, what did I ask you to listen to?
So I'm going to be listening to Ghede Chokras by Shark Move from 1973.
1973, good year. Very
Oh yeah,
very interesting year of time of music too. Sleep Token now that came out what like all of like
literally like
two,
May.
3 weeks
It was,
ago,
yeah, it was like May 9th.
May 9th. So
Yeah,
yeah,
May
it's
9th.
it's yeah 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks ago. Okay,
It's
so it's
very,
pretty
very new.
very
Yeah.
very new, and I think that's kind of cool. To, like we got something that's 50 years old, and we got something that's like
Yeah.
brand spanking new. And then we'll have a lot of fun chatting about those albums here in a moment. But thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We will
Yeah,
be
thank you.
right back with More Than Metal. So, Bill, what are you listening
Yes.
to?
God. Right now, I've been revisiting Health, their
Okay.
discography. I've been a fan of them for quite a long time. I got to see them live a few times, and I've been listening to their song with Chelsea Wolfe, "Me."
Okay.
Real good. I'm a big fan. It's kind of like their older stuff off of like Death Magic,
Hmm.
but it's probably more in line with Disco for Generations. But
Mm.
it's good. I like it when they have guest singers. I mean, I love. Oh God, I always forget his name. The main guy. The main guy is. I love his voice, but
Mm.
Chelsea Wolfe kind of lends herself really well to it.
Yeah, Chelsea can kind of come in and do a lot of stuff like, here and there and really pull a track together.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with 2 Minutes to Midnight. Talk
Oh
about the
yeah.
talk show. They did that cover of she did that cover of Crazy Train with everybody,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's really good. It's a really, really good cover.
She's good at covers.
She's good at covers. We can certainly say that. Yeah, she's very good at covers, and I've been a big fan. I actually own nearly every piece of vinyl that Chelsea School's ever put out, and
That's fucking cool.
it is cool, Bill. And I will continue. I'll probably have to go buy this Health record if it's out on vinyl as well. So
Oh yeah. Oh,
just to have her.
health sounds good on vinyl.
I bet it does.
What about
Speaking of
you?
vinyl, I got an order in some records, and I picked up this record by a band, newer band. This is literally their first album. Came out in April, called Black Sword Thunder Attack, and that is also the name of the album. And I could not stop listening to this. If you go to their Discogs, it is described as Greek lo-fi ethereal epic metal band.
That's just four words that are contradictory. Epic lo-fi.
Oh, I thought you were saying Greeks and epic. I was like, no,
No,
I'm
no,
pretty sure
that's
I feel like they came up with that.
That is absolutely synonymous. No, I'm talking about
like
lo-fi and epic.
I don't know. I think you'd be lo-fi and epic.
I guess so.
I feel like Luke Skywalker was lo-fi and epic until he wasn't.
You know what? Okay, I can totally meet you there. I think
Okay.
yeah. Interesting. I totally would describe it as that. Right before this episode started, we were listening to a few of the songs. It's really fucking good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's lo-fi in the sense of like it's kind of like rawly like recorded. It's not super refined. It's very much like what you would hear, like I don't want to say necessarily in a garage, but like a demo space.
Oh yeah.
And I like the energy of it. They have a good singer. I think that it just hits right, but it's epic. Epic metal is an interesting genre because it's not so much like it is a sound like Sirith Ungol is like epic metal.
Oh yeah.
But it's more of the kind of, it takes you on a journey.
Yes.
You know, if you want like if I was going to point out epic metal band, it would be something like Atlantean Codex. But it's not power. Power metal can be epic metal, but power metal is not necessarily epic metal, which is really interesting. They're distinct.
It was only recently that I kind of discovered the distinction between the two. I used to think that power metal was just kind of also synonymous with epic metal, and I was like, wait a minute, no, these two things are.
And I think a lot of that is because like you have bands like Blind Guardian or Rhapsody of Fire, which are doing these epic songs, but like I've heard power metal is just like, let's get in, throw it down, and it's out. Yeah. Like I wouldn't call Halloween. They have some epic songs, but I wouldn't call it epic metal. It's much more like comical and kind of funny. But yeah, the Black Sword Thunder Attack. Highly recommend that album. It can't go wrong.
Incredible name.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. They're on No Remorse, which is a killer label, and everything. So, Bill, I feel like we should start off on the good foot here.
Yeah,
and
why don't we?
You should tell me about what you thought about this Shark Move record, and I'll tell you why I picked it real quick.
Yeah, please do.
I picked it. So now we are in debate on how to pronounce the name, but I always say Ghede Chokras, and you're saying Gehedes, or what was it?
Ghede Chokras. That's kind of, I guess, phonetically how it works for me.
Yeah, and I'm honestly not sure. They were an Indonesian band they founded in 1970, primarily by this legend out there named Benny Barha, I think Barha, I think how you say it. And they were basically their keyboardist passed away in 1970, and so basically like they disbanded Shark Move and then kind of went on to another band called A Giant Step, which is pretty much the same guys, but without the keyboardist who passed away. Mm-hmm. But they put this one album out, and it is like really influential. It's really interesting. It's one of those albums where I feel like if I really want to have a deep conversation about like what people can do in music, this is the one I point to of like how far ahead someone can be.
Oh,
and
God.
It's a weird album because like even people that are like diehard music fans that I've met, like hardcore collectors, have not heard of this record. And people that might have even been raised in the industry will say, I've not heard of this record, and they should. I think this is I will go out, and this is my final statement on this. I think this is an album that everyone should hear once.
I absolutely agree. If there was a music curriculum, like a class of just listening to music,
Mhm.
this would be there. Absolutely. Without
So
a doubt.
so
It's
tell me why. Then tell me what your thoughts were, Bill, going into this.
I got a lot of thoughts.
You got a lot of
So
thoughts? We'll drop them, dude.
yeah. So one of my favorite things to do before I listen to an album is like look at the album cover for quite a long time and see
Hmm.
try to think like where that came from, like where like what they wanted with that. And this album cover is whack. It's so good. So it's got what I presume are the band members
Hmm.
atop a flying winged whale. They're holding like spears and axes, and it's like in space, but also the ocean, and they're fighting this red monster with claws and a hand for a face. And there's the moon in the background. You got like stars and galaxies. It's wild. It's very 73.
And I got and I it has I like how they did the logo for the band name Shark Move. They kind of have like the
Oh
H cut
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
That's a clever font.
It's
You know,
really
you could
yeah,
stencil that. That's what's cool. It's like a stencil. Like I'm pretty sure I have a feeling
totally.
that would have been on the side of their gear.
Oh yeah. It's just every part of this album is so ahead of its time. It's just I was floored.
Okay.
It it sounds like it both came out in 1973 and also yesterday.
Mm,
And it's got like it's got the funkiness, the soul, the kind of like early psych rock
mm,
vibes, but also like a bunch of stuff that you hear a lot in the early like 2000s and a lot in kind of those kind of like it's like I said psyche circles, and it's just you can hear the pervasive influence that this album has had. And like in for Adult Swim, I was listening to this and I was thinking, oh my god, this is just the sound that Adult Swim decided was their brand.
mm.
And like I looked it up, we were just talking. There's in one of the singles they released with Madlib and Freddie Gibbs where they sample one of the songs on this album. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's great. Like there's just even obscure stuff. There's this game I played a while ago called Star Fetchers, and it's kind of like a story. It's a very like indie story-ish
Mhm.
game. It's kind of a visual novel. I don't really know the genre of Star Fetchers, but the entire soundtrack was so cut from the same cloth. Cut from the cloth that Ghede Chokra's sewed. Like it's very clear the influence and kind of like
Mm.
yeah the through line of this kind of genre, this kind of fuzzy guitar sound. It's it's great. It's really
It is
good.
really fuzzy, and there's a lot of guitar in it, and the drums are solid in it, but it's also like it has kind of this like lo-fi recording style to it, much
Yes,
like the Black
Black Sword
Sword
Thunder
Thunder attack.
Attack. Yeah.
Yeah, it has that kind of lo-fi element to it. But like what's interesting is there's some sounds in there they pull off that, and this is why like you have guys like Madlib obsessed with this album.
Oh yeah.
Is there's sounds in there they pull off that like you basically can't like recreate really, and because they started bringing in uh indigenous Indonesian
Yeah.
instrumentation into it, and then running it through like your pedals and everything,
Which
just
is
kind of
unhinged and
which is
incredible.
unhinged. Yeah, and so in that regard, it's kind of interesting because it does kind of come up into that genre of what we would call contemporaneously, like I would say like folk metal in a regard, because
Oh yeah.
it is using folk elements to that to get that edge.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, okay. What else? What else stuck out to you on this one here?
So I kind of want to just go over the different songs that really kind of like stuck out to me. So they start the album with a 9 minute long ballad,
As you do.
as you do, just as you normally do, which song's called My Life. And it is, I think, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's this kind of like this ballad that kind of
Hmm.
explodes at the end with this like massive what is it, fuzzy guitar solo. And oh my God, it's so good. It like set the tone for the rest of the album. And it's really funny because it's the longest song on the album by far.
It's twice as long as any other song.
Oh, it's twice. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the
It's
next longest is like 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
the next longest one is Evil War, which is just so happens to be my favorite one, and the one they
Mm.
sampled for the Adult Swim song, which was
Mm.
God, what was it called? It was City. That's what it was. Um, that song. They sampled a little section in the middle, but Evil War is kind of that's the one that really got me thinking about how much influence this album has on kind of modern music and kind of rock and even a little bit of metal in those
Oh, yeah.
in those spaces. Like it's it's a very sampleable song.
Hmm.
Like I would not be surprised if it's been sampled like hundreds of times for just so many different things. I would not be surprised, but also I feel like I wouldn't catch it on the first
Hmm.
like listen. And it's just ah, it's great.
You,
It's
you know
really good.
what's interesting about that was the if you go look at like the pressing times of this record, it originally comes out in 73 on vinyl, and then it doesn't get repressed until 2007 on
Whoa.
anything. And even then it's only on vinyl, and then there's a CD release in 2007. Then it's not pressed again until 2014, and then it finally comes out like cassette in 2014.
Oh
Um,
man. Both ahead of
yeah,
its
so
time and not.
yeah, and what's interesting about that was the original versions of it, like it was they were going for like once people kind of figure out who Madlib was sampling through the stuff, the record was going for like I remember seeing them on Discogs for like $3,000 to $4,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot for like
Yeah, that's a lot for an album.
I mean, yeah, that's like if you go read Discogs like high like if you read their monthly like report on the high selling items, like that's in the upper top 10.
God, I wonder how
And
much they are
usually
now.
right now about I'm looking at them right now, they're about $500
That's
because
crazy.
of the reissues.
Still.
But still that's pretty high, yeah.
That's
That's a really high value for it. I have my personal copy was well, and the reason why was that the original edition there was only 100 copies pressed.
oh, okay.
So
That
like it
makes
was a
sense.
very rare record, and yeah, that's a really it's
Wait,
a
you have
very
one?
not with the originals. No, I have
Oh,
a
a
repress
brie
from
press. That's fucking
2017.
cool.
Yeah, I have the 2017 repress that I got. How did I get that through? I can't remember how I got that through, but you can get copies of it pretty easily now. Like
Hmm.
it's people kind of it has some recognition in that regard.
Got it.
Yeah, it was through Outer Battery actually.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, they did a reissue of it. And that's a cool label. It has some cool bands on it. Um, but yeah, I highly recommend this one, and I'm glad you got to listen to it, man. Like
Oh my god, I need
what
to. I need to listen to it again.
yeah, and I think that's what's interesting about the album too. Is you can go back and listen to it over and over again here.
Oh yeah,
The later stuff from Benny with Giant Step and the other bands he was in, it's good. It's he
I
has
still have
quite
yet to
the
like visit it.
he has there's quite the career for these guys after this album.
Oh,
In
that's good.
in regards that like they just have to kind of reform as a different name essentially.
Hmm.
And what it sounds like is they got demoralized pretty bad by their friend dying.
Oh really?
And decided to just do new name, and I'm like I get that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sounds legit.
but Giant Step put out albums from 70 or from 75 to 85.
Hmm.
So that's a pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty solid
Yeah, it's not a
career.
bad run.
No, that's not a bad run, and would highly recommend. And there was some reunion shows. There was actually on Indonesian TV. There was some Benny Belt maybe about 10 years ago played some of these songs live with a new band, and it was really good.
The ones from Shark Move or Giant
Yeah,
Step?
yeah. He
Oh
played Evil
fuck yeah!
War and he played My Life, and
Oh, that's
it
awesome.
was the Duke can still throw down and
I
everything like that
bet.
too.
Oh yeah.
And you can see it's kind of fun because he's got these younger guys in the band that are like, really into it, and like, really like, holy shit, like I'm rocking out with Benny here, and it's
With the
cool. So
Benny. Yeah.
yeah, Benny, I think it's a good one. But okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed that, man.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask this question to you. What's kind of the takeaway you got from? Oh, here's a cover artist. It's Samantha Choke, I think her name is. I have
Hmm.
no idea. It's just the only album cover she has a credit for on Discog. So
Send it
I
over.
have no idea, and I can guarantee you she's none of these women I just pulled up Googling the name because all of them are. She did this album cover in 1973. She's not that young. Like, nothing personal, lady, but you're. But yeah, it's I always like that album cover too, and
It's
you're right. That is
really good.
it's a trip,
It's a trip, and so is the album.
and so is the
Everything about
album.
it is a trip, and not just like tripping out, but it's like it's a journey. It takes
Mhm.
you on a
Mhm.
journey, and kind of. So I made the mistake of listening to this just sitting at my computer
Oh
when I should have hooked it up to my sound system in my
yeah.
living room,
Mm.
gotten unbelievably high,
Mhm.
and rewiring my brain chemistry completely. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, I do feel like this would have been better if I listened to it in louder,
Yeah.
like in more ambient within a
It
room, right?
it has some big sounds.
It does.
It
It
has
really
some big
does.
sounds, and I feel like and because of the range of the sounds, I think you're right on this. This is one of those albums you really need to listen to on a good system. I think you need to
Yeah.
listen. I think people need to listen to music on good systems, broadly speaking. But
Mhm.
what was that bit on Portlandia? The one with Amy
Oh
Mann.
fuck.
There's the one with Amy Mann where like they're sitting there with their phone. Amy, isn't this
Yeah.
how you want me to listen to your music? And like listening to like the little phone
Yeah.
and
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
It's like yeah, no, like
No,
this
don't
song's
listen to.
so good. It sounds so good on my little phone. Like it's like, dude, or my little laptop speakers or whatever it is. Like no, like you got to put it on
Oh
something they can throw
god.
down.
Don't
Um,
listen. I cannot listen to music on my phone because my phone has this really weird bug. I don't know if it's a bug or a hardware or mechanical
mhm.
issue or something, but every so often the speaker will start to sound incredibly tinny.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, they do that. Yeah.
it's
I think that's just kind of how
bizarre.
they sound. I don't think they're meant to throw that much sound around for that long, like in like a duration.
It might be that.
Yeah.
And then it like
I
regenerates and then comes back and then gets tinny again and then
yeah.
stops. And then it's so bizarre.
Yeah, no, I think this is the hardware. I don't think it's built for it a lot. Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
issue, and we could get into all that.
The sound,
Maybe
the
that's a whole
technicalities
other
of
episode. Is
sound.
talking
Oh
about
yeah, talking about sound.
look, man, we're already music snobs. We don't need to be audiophile snobs. On top of that,
Yeah, I'm an elitist enough.
at least enough. Yes, this is apt.
Oh yeah.
I only listen to the best bands like Shark Move.
And
Something you've
sleep
never heard
token.
of. No, but go. Well,
Speaking of,
I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I'm really glad you
yeah.
enjoyed it, it's one of those bands I hope you share with some other people.
Oh, I
Uh,
absolutely will.
I my one of the things I would love to do with that is to go back in time to the 1970s and ask people that were like rock musicians then and go, hey, have you heard this band? And they'd be like, no, and I'd like play it for them. I'd love to blow their mind in like the
Oh,
1970s with this. Be like, look what was going on the other side of the world that you had no
oh my God,
idea,
yeah.
and how much more like advanced they were than like you guys with these multi-million-dollar studios. It was like
You would send like
you
a
go
75, like 1975 hippie stoner into
yeah
low Earth
yes
orbit.
yes
You would just
oh yeah you blow their mind,
totally.
dude.
Oh yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Led who?" Like,
Yeah, huh? What?
yeah, no, yeah, it's really interesting in that regard. And I think one thing about the album, and this, I didn't hear you bring this up, but the kind of tone of the album, it
Yes.
feels very joyful,
It's very it's both.
celebratory.
I
Yeah,
noticed celebration and like joyful, but it's almost okay. So here's another thing that was really interesting that I found. It feels almost like, oh God, how do I even put this? It feels like it predicted its own nostalgia.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
has this
That's a great perception.
thank you. It predicted its own nostalgia in
Mm,
the way where it's like it sounds like a bygone era, even in the 70s. And it sounds like a different place
mm,
than Earth. It
yeah,
this is it's oh my God. It's very ethereal,
hmm
but it's not the ethereal sad. It's the
no,
it's like happy melancholy, like celebratory
it's like
melancholy.
laughing gas, man.
It
Like
is.
it,
It's very much
yeah,
like laughing gas.
yeah. And the etherealness is interesting because I don't feel like they were ever trying to make that happen.
No, no, absolutely not.
Where we have like and this will get into the band I'll be talking about,
Oh yeah.
where you flip the switch and you turn on etherealness.
Hmm.
And I see that more and more in a lot of bands these days, is that they have the
Yeah.
ethereal point. They can flip the switch and turn on etherealness. I mean, that sounds corny, but like I feel like that's it. Like there's like a preset ethereal setting on a lot of stuff.
I mean, I honestly totally agree. Like, I think I totally agree in the sense that you can make that sound
Yes.
work. You can make it work. You can have it happen.
Yes.
But ethereal is better when it's not intended
Yes.
to be, because
Yeah.
that's what makes it ethereal. Ethereal is like intangible and kind of almost unknowable, and that's what this album is.
Mm. Okay.
It doesn't feel like an album like you can pick up. It feels like an album that you just experience, right? You just kind of blink and it appears in your vision, and then you just go on this kind of like quest through the track list. Yeah,
Where you're either hunting or being hunted by a thing with a hand for a face.
exactly.
In
I love
space.
I love that thing with the hand for a face. It's like got like I
Yeah.
don't even know what it is.
Well, as an avid player of Dungeon Crawl Classics, where they have like weird amalgams like monsters and stuff, they do really weird stuff. That's very much out of that kind of like
Oh, yeah.
style. It's kind of fun. It's I like that throwback style to that, the weird
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of monsters.
Now, before we switch over to
okay.
the next one, I have a question for you.
Sure.
How high of a chance do you think it was that Gary Gygax was listening to this?
Unlikely.
Okay, yeah, that's too bad.
Very unlikely. And I've actually had that. That's actually a question I've wanted to pose to his children, was asking the question of what he was listening to. But
That's a great question.
Because we have Appendix N, which talks about what they were reading and what they were into, but not what they were listening to. My impression though is I don't think it would have been anything too off the walls. I think it would have been I think it would have been very straight and on the narrow. Also at the time too is that Gary was unemployed, so they probably just been listening to radio, not a lot of records.
Yeah.
He was repairing shoes in his basement, to feed his kids. Yeah. So it's like he was probably not buying a lot of records at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's but I also know a lot of classical stuff too. And I imagine quite a few like military marches.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, the wargaming thing. I feel like you had to put that on. Yeah, you're not trying to you're kind of keep it easy on that. But anyways, moving into it.
Moving on to an interesting album. This came out very, very recently.
Yeah.
And Sleep Token has been kind of on the scene for quite a little bit now. Just past couple of years. They had some albums at the start that weren't nearly as popular as their most recent, the album that came before Even in Arcadia, which is the one that you listened to.
Yes.
Take Me Back to Eden exploded.
It did.
It was everywhere. You would hear the drop from that one song, The Summoning, everywhere. Everywhere on TikTok, especially. It was really common on TikTok, like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all those short.
And that I will say that's another thing that worries me, is that like I have a friend that has music projects, and it's this kind of issue. It is contemporary music, and we saw Ghost did this with Mary on the Cross, like where you get that one little part of the song and like it blows up just because like it's in some videos here, or some like little short videos, like 10 to 15-second videos, and that's for those of us that enjoy albums such as by Shark Move, it's quite the contrast to the experience.
TikTokification of music is real.
Yeah,
like, it is
an interesting thing, and actually that's actually one thing I did in listening to this album, was kind of trace some of the trends that it does. Because it has a lot of trends. It's a very trendy album. And I will talk about that momentarily. But why did you pick this album? Why?
So why did you pick it,
Bill? Why?
I'm so sorry, John.
How dare you, sir?
So I didn't want us both to be singing the praises of an incredibly influential.
You were the only one that wanted to have a good time. You want to make sure you have a good time by everybody else not having a good time.
Exactly.
You're a hater.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm like an energy vampire. No. Anyways, you're suffering when listening to Sleep Token brings me joy. Anyways, no, I feel like it's new. It's so contemporary, and
It is.
all the good and bad that comes from that. And I actually recommended it before it even came out
Yes.
because I knew it was going to be a good conversation topic. And I had a very distinct feeling that you weren't going to be the biggest fan of it,
Sure.
but have incredibly interesting and I think very well informed things to say.
You can just say that they're correct. I have correct opinions.
Yeah, that too. Sorry, you're right about
they're
a lot of
objectively
things,
correct.
and these are about to be objectively even more correct.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Sleep Token exploded massively like upon the scene with Take Me Back to Eden, which was a great album. I think that was a really, really solid album. Definitely one of my favorite ones.
My nephew that I listen to a lot of metal with, who I should mention is older, he's like in his 30s. And we've been to a lot of concerts and everything like that too. And he was into this one. And so that's why I thought maybe like, okay, I should give Sleep Token a try. I never gave Sleep Token a try. I also never really investigated into them. So like I went into this album without really knowing anything about them. I knew they were British. I knew they wear masks.
That's all you need to know.
They're British. They wear masks. No. That's it. It's a Guy Fawkes tribute band.
Oh my god, the pitchforks and the torches.
The pitchforks and the torches. Yeah, yeah. There's they plant explosives under random places here.
Yeah.
But no, I was so I really wanted to go in without knowing who they are.
Yeah,
because I can it's not that I'd be judgmental. Honestly, knowing they're from London. I have feelings about that now.
Ugh, they're British.
Well, no, it's not that they're British. It's very in what they've done is very in line with what the British do.
That's a loaded statement.
It is a loaded statement, and if I'll keep people listening for the next part when I talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me about it. What do you think? I'm curious.
So I put this on, and now what's weird about it is that I had heard Sleep Token portrayed to me as like a metal band. Metal. Okay, so harder than rock. Like literally the definition of metal is harder than rock. That's it, right? So I'm like, all right. And I listened to it, and it is super low key, like very kind of droney vocals, electronic. Very much it's really they found the ethereal preset and they pushed it and hit record.
Yeah.
Like and it does that for a long time. I'm not going to be able to name you individual tracks because like I put on the whole album.
Yeah.
And it all did kind of blend together for me in that regard. Like it does feel like the separation between tracks is there, but it's not there. When I listen to them like jump around into them, I can hear the difference now between the tracks. Yeah. But like largely, it's this very kind of like low key-ish, guy kind of singing over. What I really did not like, the first thing that hit me that I did not like was how much auto-tune is in this.
It's a lot of auto-tune.
It's a lot of fucking auto-tune.
It's a lot of auto-tune.
A lot of auto-tune. So now here's where I compare Sleep Token to going to the dentist.
Oh my god.
and here's why. Now, it's not what you think, and here's why.
I'm excited.
So when I go to the dentist, I have this great lady that cleans my teeth. I like her a lot. I think she's great. Great cleaning the teeth. But she listens to that really shitty, modern, contemporary country music that's auto-tuned to fucking back.
Oh, yep. Like
and that's all I could fucking hear when I listened to the Sleep Token record.
God.
Was shitty country auto-tune. Auto-tuning just to auto-tune because it's the hip thing to do.
That's so funny.
So that's why Sleep Token Sleep Token like going to the dentist.
That's see, I knew it. I predicted that you would have some great anecdotes. This is exactly what I was looking for.
And so I was like, okay, all right. Well, then I'm listening to it, and like you kind of hear like they pick up some beats. So what they're doing is here. I'm going to slowly build the picture of the sounds and hear what I'm hearing from it. So I hear shitty like auto-tune vocals over like basic ethereal kind of like lo-fi stuff, or not even lo-fi. It's actually, I will say this
album's
like the sounds on it sound how they want them to sound to an obscene degree. It's too perfect sounding for my opinion. Like every sound on it. This is really
very produced.
It's very, very produced. And this is a major contrast to say Shark Move, where it's like
Yes.
each sound, like every time they hit that sound, it sounds different. Like it sounds
Mhm.
no two of the choruses on the Shark Move record sound the same.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I like about it is that you like I've
Same
had
here.
that where the whole album, like I've had albums where it felt like they recorded 5 things and made an album out of it, you know. And so this though very, very produced, very, very clean sounding to almost upsetting degree. I'll mention to you, I listened to it on my computer sound system, which is a what's that? It says THX approved system. So like,
Whoa.
yes, I've had it's like a 550-watt system.
Damn.
Yeah, it's I've had it for a long time. It's an older
Nice.
Logitech system, but it's a lot of fun. So I've listened to a lot of music on it, and
Yeah.
it's a system that's got some bass on it. Nice surround sound system. So I was listening to that, and I was just kind of hanging around, like doing some stuff on my computer while I'm listening to it, but also taking some notes here.
Mhm.
I hear, but I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, okay, like everyone, all my friends are like, everyone said like this is metal. It's like some
It's
sort of
not.
metal. I'm like, okay, like where is that going to kick in? Well, then it happened. And this is where Bill is lucky he was not in the same room with me when I heard this part. Because I started having flashbacks, sir.
Oh
I started
no.
having flashbacks to the 90s. Um, so back in the 90s, there now for those who don't know, I live in the center of California, like dead center, Central Valley. And if you go south, there's this town called Bakersfield, and they generated a little band called Korn. And if you go a little bit farther west, you find they generated in San Jose a band called the Deftones. And then you go further up north, they generated a little band called Papa Roach.
Yep.
So I was in it to win it with nu metal as the scene. Now, for those who don't know, nu metal is not great. It's interesting. I actually think the first Korn album is quite good, but like it was so oversaturated.
It's
And
very,
those sound
yeah.
yeah, the power chord, like the constant power chords. My buddy Dominic, he plays bass for oh shit, I forgot the name of his band here. He plays bass. He talked about like he's like, yeah, nu metal is where you put your bass strings on your guitar on your guitar as loose as possible, but can still get sound out of them.
Oh,
I was like,
really
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way.
That's a fair description. I like it. It's very technical too.
Yeah.
If you want to make a set, if you want to make a guitar tech laugh, that's a good way to tell them. But they so I had heard those sounds. So when I was in Sleep Token, they kick in with the nu metal sounds very quickly.
It's very nu metal.
And so I started having flashbacks, which means like I was at war with my younger self again. And like
how fitting for the album.
How fitting. So yeah, once again, you're lucky you weren't here because you were in arms reach.
Just flailing about and knocking shit off the shelves.
Yes, I would ask you if you did it for the nookie, and
oh my god,
like it was bad.
Sleep Token has you hitting the what is it, the nu metal?
Nu metal, yeah. Just throwing out symbols here, wearing my hat backwards, trying to rap over it. And that's another thing. Even the lyrics, like they're like the vocals, like he's kind of rapping at points.
He is. It's very R&B.
Yeah, but then the one part of it that and this is the part that upsets me because I really like this genre, and there's one genre I really like, and they do this is I don't even see it on their Wikipedia page as being one of their things, but they do this kind of trip hop element.
Yeah, very true. Very
and
trip hop.
I really like trip hop. One of the bands I really liked when I was younger in high school, like Sneaker Pimps. And
yes.
Yes, right. Another band that is dangerously underrated, except by people that know.
If you know.
If you know, you know. But I was kind of digging that, and I was digging that element. I was kind of trying to, and so I was trying to listen to this in a way that I'll cite Anthony Fontano about was when he because I never really was an Emperor, and I watched him do a review of Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse. He's like talking about latching on to like the ethereal undertones, the part that you can latch onto. So like my first listen to Emperor, who I saw in concert last week, it's very discordant. I didn't like the lyrics. I was having a hard time listening to it, but I could hear that undertone, and his advice like latch onto that and then branch out. And so that's why that's how I then tried to listen to Sleep Token.
Interesting.
The problem is that I fucking hate auto-tune country vocals, and I hate fucking nu metal. And so, and I hate like, I hate like, I don't like insincere British rapping over any of these things. Like, so,
Yeah.
so there was too much that outweighed that I couldn't latch onto. There was too much preventing me
Yeah.
out. So I did think there were some pretty good compositions in here, but like once again, uh I couldn't breach into it. But then I realized that, and this is my big revelation that I had after listening to it the first time. And I went back and I was like, okay, they're trying to sound like someone else. I was trying to figure out, this sounds like something I've heard before. Now, usually when I think someone's trying to sound like someone else, I will start at the default, which is a very neutral position to start at. Because like, if you're going to try to sound like anyone else in the world, you should sound like these guys. But that's the band Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah.
And you just sound like Depeche Mode.
Yeah. Just do.
I believe Depeche Mode is the universal language, actually.
The universal constant.
It is. I'm very clear that if someone does not like Depeche Mode, you need to stop talking to that person immediately.
That's a red flag right there.
There's no excuse. Possible reptile person, possible pod person. But, but then I was trying to branch. I was like, no, it's not quite that. It's like I kind of started weaving my lines through and seeing where I could hear this type of sound from, and I realized who Sleep Token's trying to sound like.
Let's hear it.
They're trying to sound like Ulver.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So they're trying to sound like Ulver's Flowers of Evil.
Oh my god.
Or the assassination of Julius Caesar.
Yep.
And I went and started. I was like,
Ulver. Whoa.
Yeah. But they're trying to bring in more like, and the Ulver albums are interesting because they do bring in some hip hop elements, but like they don't like lean on them.
Yeah.
You know, they splice them in, they throw it in, but they don't do that. Like, it's like if you're cooking, you're like, yeah, this tastes pretty good. I'll throw some in, and you throw some in, but you're like, you know what would taste better if I threw more in.
More, yeah.
And then you overbear and you kill your flavors. And I think that's what Sleep Token does, is I think that they have a really good base of flavor in terms of like how they're doing trip hop. But then I think they try to bring in all this stuff. And we've talked about once again, this is we've talked about like a band like Priest. I heard some like elements of Priest in here, but it's not as well executed. And
I think that Priest does Priest best.
Yes,
and
Priest is for those who haven't heard Priest is an offshoot of Ghost, and I would describe Priest as darker, sexier. Imagine somewhere between Depeche Mode and the Eurythmics.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, and guys, it's hard to sex up the Eurythmics or Depeche Mode. So like that's telling you something.
It's hard to get more of what's already there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like, so I wanted to share with you something very interesting about this album.
That you hate me, and you want me to listen to it
so much, and that I actually next album is going to be their previous one. You get to listen to more of Sleep Token.
No. Oh, you dirty son of a bitch.
Yeah. So
that's a dirtbag move.
Wikipedia.
Yes.
I would like to share. So this sentence is utterly insane. Musically, Even in Arcadia has been described as alternative metal, gent, pop, R&B, progressive metal, pop rap, trap, and metalcore with elements of emo, arena rock, trip hop, electronic, and reggaeton. All of those.
Yeah, it's you know what this album is? It's a fucking camel. You know what I'm talking about? Do you know that?
Yeah.
That camel. Yeah. Camel is a horse created by committee. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're trying to do too much, and I think that's their issue. Is they're trying to do too much. And I
do think that this album was both overly ambitious and overly safe while being overly ambitious. Like, if you're gonna get weird with it,
get weird with it, baby.
Get weird with it.
Swing with it, man.
Yeah, it almost got there at points. It almost did.
I'd rather listen to a weird album that's bad because than a safe album that's bad. Because okay, if safe albums that are bad is your jam, once again, listen to contemporary country music. It's all very safe. It's
epitome of safe.
It's all safe. It's all bad, but you know what you're getting into. And it's very flat. And I think that's the other thing with the album too. It felt very flat, and then like they wanted to jump it up with the new metal elements, and it's just like for people for someone that grew up with that much, like people don't understand how bad new metal was. It's not that new metal is necessarily a bad genre or bad music. It's that if you go look at the stories from it of the time and the major labels who were still pretty big at the time, were still really killing at the time. There were so many of them. They were signing like 2 new metal bands a month each.
Yeah.
And it was a new metal arms race where people were like, I can't be the one to be left out. I can't be the one left out. Because you go back and look at a lot of the bands that they signed, they put like one album out and they were gone.
Yep.
You know, and where there was a few that did survive and do quite well for themselves. But like, so there's kind of like a shell shockness to that sound for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard here. Because it was interesting. I have heard new metal elements in like industrial music here and there where they kind of played with it, but they didn't make it the focus. But with Sleep Token, when I'm listening to it, all of a sudden I have to focus on that. And I didn't like that.
Yeah. I will admit, I have been listening to this album, some of the songs on repeat for quite a while. I liked it. Generally, I was a fan. And it's that safe sound that kind of appeals to me sometimes when I'm like working on other things and just listen to the same thing over and over.
Oh, it's a great album if you're not focused on it.
Exactly.
If you don't have an interest in this piece of art, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, but see, to me, that's fucked up because that's like, that's where you get shit like, so like you have art out there that like is like we should put up on a gallery and we should really take the time to look at it and examine it. And then we have art we should just put on shower curtains. And this is the art we put on shower curtains. It just kind of lives in the space in the background.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And we move around it. But once again, man, I sat there and that's my like my end thought on this is just go listen to Ulver's Flowers of Evil instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you made that. Did you make that Ulver connection? Because you seem to
I did not actually. This was the revelation. You were right before we started recording the episode. You were about to tell me, and I was like, no,
don't tell me. Okay,
you have to wait.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I kind of agree with you on a lot of these.
So, and that then goes back to my whole thing about why this is like such a British album. Is this is an album. This album, I will say, this album is a triumph of this regard. It is a triumph of the colonization of other people's sounds.
Oh my God! Not you calling Sleep Token colonizing.
Oh, I just trashed the British Empire and I trashed Sleep Token all in one sentence. It was dope.
Easy target.
Easy targets. This is true. This is true. You know, it's funny. I actually said I don't know if it was derogatory, but I said I was on a gaming podcast and I was talking about stereotype. I said, yeah, you know, it seems I think it's kind of stereotypical and kind of British in me. They're like, what's that? I was like, I like to paint miniatures. And so I think it was a very British action to me. Painting little miniature soldiers. But no, you know, here's the thing about the album. I get why people would like it. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say about too was it does auto-tuned. It also leans on this as well. This is the other thing that I hated. It leans heavy on auto-tune, down-tuned, elongated millennial whoops.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate the millennial whoop. As a millennial, I should mention too, I am by definition a millennial on the very cusp of it. I hate the millennial whoop. And I kept hearing this throughout.
I'm not a huge fan of it either.
It got, once again, it's one of those things where it's a cool sound. I get why it's a cool sound, but then like it's pervasive and every label has like 3 new acts every month doing it. So you just got burnt on the sound very quickly.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was another thing about it too, is I view this as like taking a bunch of it takes a bunch of different elements of things that like and try to mash them up together. It just doesn't work. I do think the trip hop elements are good. I would like to, whichever guy in their band is like doing that, I'm like, dude, put out a fucking trip hop album.
Yeah.
You know, do that.
Have them listen to Shark Move.
Go listen to Shark
like,
Move and
those,
sample some shit. Yeah.
That's fun.
Fucking, when you're backstage sometime, you get the mask off, dude. Go put on some sneaker pimps, chill out to that.
Yeah.
Make that album. Go find a
And
good vocalist, go find a
maybe,
fun vocalist, and put yourself out there, man. You'll do well with it.
yeah. And then maybe
But
don't do any more of the millennial whoops, please.
millennial whoops. Yeah, find yourself a singer who has had themselves surgically altered to the point where they cannot do the millennial whoop, and so that
I am much more a fan of the Gen Z. So much more.
what is that? I haven't heard that.
It's in a lot of like metalcore where I think it was kind of started or popularized by Sam Carter of Architects.
Okay, it's because that sounded like a bot to me because a bot would do that in Immortal song. Like
they just kind of at the like right before a breakdown, it just goes black, like and then just kind of goes into it.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know if that was what you were looking for from either Bill regarding
that was absolutely what I was looking.
Was that what you wanted? You wanted to torture me?
I wanted to challenge you.
Well, look, we're planning on doing more of these swaps. I don't know. I have some ideas for you, but I'm not sure what I want to do yet. And I don't know if I want to torture you or not.
Do it. I took a shot at you this episode. You can take a shot at me next one.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll try to do one of these a month because they're kind of fun.
They are fun.
And it gets me listening to some stuff here. But I'm feeling pretty good about this one here. I'm glad I listened to it. I'm glad I saw what people were into, like what people liked, I'm glad I know what people like and how to tear it down.
It's like number one for a reason. I know why. Like,
yeah,
people like it.
People like it, and I think that people like flat. That's my way to describe the album. Is very flat.
I think, especially nowadays, with so much bullshit happening, people are looking for safe.
Yeah.
People are looking for safe and something that's kind of expected, right?
Yeah, it's a little numbing to listen to at points. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. I'm more of a, when I listen to music, I'd rather be drowned than numbed.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with
like
that.
I want to throw down like I'll go put on some like heavy ass Emperor or Immortal and it's like that's good, drown me out baby, like fucking put me underwater here, freeze me to death here.
Yeah, do it. I like that too. That's usually where I land when I want to like listen to something. But I have noticed that especially recently I have been enjoying the numbing effect of some music. And because there's so much bludgeoning me over the head every day. Like just not me, just the royal me, like everybody. Like there's just so much bullshit happening right now that sometimes you just want to like sit in your living room and have a drink and listen to something you don't have to think about. And like there's some beauty in that.
No, I agree. And trust me, I have those albums. I have those albums too. I think that's that's actually a way I would describe. I don't know. That's another conversation to have. We gotta do we gotta do an episode about Christmas albums here sometime.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a fun one.
I got some. Gonna be a fun one.
There's some very. I will say this: there has been some in the last 10 years. There have been some amazing Christmas albums, and there's some and there was a big lull of like Christmas albums for a long time, and now there's like some really good ones coming out again. There's some classics I'd love to talk to you about sometime. That'd be fun. We would do that. I grew up in a house. We didn't really listen to music in the house. We didn't have a lot of records. We had a shit ton of Christmas records, and they got broken out when we were doing Christmas decorations and like Christmas time. And I will say the one I would recommend if anyone, I think one of those overlooked artists, period, back in the day was Kitty Wells.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Her Christmas records were very good. And I like Kitty Wells. People always go to Patsy Cline, and that's great. I think Patsy Cline's great, but like Kitty Wells, I feel like Kitty Wells is a little more raw, like little like raw
Christmas music.
Yeah, good Christmas music. So yeah, highly recommend that stuff. But yeah, that'd be fun. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do that Christmas episode. That's actually good. Fuck, that's a good idea, guys. We're over here just banging out all the ideas, explaining the world, explains how why British colonialism is responsible for Sleep Token.
Oh, that's the tagline of the
That's
episode.
The tagline, and then the opposite side of that is we go look at Indonesia with indigenous folks doing psych rock who are now taking a genre that has been predominantly done by the British prior to that.
Yep.
And then taking it and making it their own
And
through
doing
their
it
own
better,
indigenous
right?
instrumentation. So quite the contrast here. We tied it all together, Bill. And I feel like we're on a high note and we should just leave.
Yeah, just call it.
Just call it. Guys, thank you so much for listening to More Than Metal. We'll be back with more in the future. This is a lot of fun. Bill, say goodbye to people.
Farewell, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
All right, later.
Later.